the recipes. Okay, you have, I already grated my cheese. You have a piece of Parmesan. So this would be the equivalent, the Parmigiano Reggiano in Italy. And you have ricotta. So what you need is the entire pouch that you have, okay? And I am just going to squeeze it all out in a bowl. And it's actually, I was concerned if it was wet, but it's not. The way they packaged it, it's mainly all ricotta, which is really nice. A lot of times, you know, it's very wet. So you'll need the ricotta, and then you need the cheese. Now the cheese, I already grated it, as you can see. But when you grate it, I just want to tell you, the way we grate cheese in Italy, we always use this side. I don't know if you guys can see it. The one with the little holes, okay? So it ends up with a really almost like a dust. I'll just do a little bit because I've already done it, okay? But it looks more like a dust compared to, let's say, shredding it. Maybe I can put it here, okay? So you see it's very fine, okay? So you'll need that. So I'm gonna put it in the bowl, okay? And then you need breadcrumbs. Now the recipes, I wrote it with fresh breadcrumbs because traditionally, a lot of the recipes, that's what they used to use. Like in Calabria, we make a pretty dense bread. And so the Italians got really clever in utilizing breadcrumbs. It would stretch a lot of dishes too, but they didn't have a blender or a food processor to make fine dried breadcrumbs. So they would grate the bread. So if you grate the bread on the same grater that I grated the cheese, you get these breadcrumbs, you know, like this. See, they're sort of moist compared to a dried breadcrumb, which, you know, a dried breadcrumb is more like a flour, okay? So that's what I'm using. But if you don't have it, you can use the regular dried breadcrumbs and parsley, okay? So that's a really simple recipe. And one of the reasons why I picked this recipe, I mean, they're very common in Calabria, but I've never seen it here. And I included in a version in my cookbook, the recipe that you have, where we're going to make these tiny little, I don't want to call them, they're polpette, you know, typically translates as meatballs in English, but these don't have any meat. So we'll call them ricotta balls. But I included the recipe in these tiny little ricotta balls poached in broth, chicken broth, or you can use a vegetable broth. But I make this recipe in 3 different ways. And that was one of the reasons why I picked it. And if I have time, I'm going to show you the 3 different ways. So one way is the way we'll do it. We'll poach them in broth. The other way is to coat them with breadcrumbs and fry them. So like an appetizer. And the third way, which is really one of my favorite, is to braise them, poach them in tomato sauce. So the only thing you need to do here, I'm sorry, I forgot one ingredient that I didn't get. I need 2 eggs. And then you need a little bit of black pepper. So make a note on the recipe card. We just noticed there was a little typo. It says 1 tablespoon of ground black pepper. Don't put a tablespoon unless you want it really, really spicy. So it only needs few grinding. In fact, in the text, it's correct. It says few grinds, but in the recipe card, it says one tablespoon. So just put few grinds of the black pepper. And then I'm just going to put in the 2 eggs. Oops. Okay. I'm just going to beat them a little bit, but you could even put them directly in it.
Hey, Rosetta, on your grater, Jenny just asked, is that the zest side that you're grating the Parmesan on?
No, it's not. This is the zest, what I would call the zest. You see the difference? Mm-hmm. This is the one I use. It's got like the round holes. You want to get our manual one or the old one, the really old one. So I don't know if it's easier to see it on this one.
Yeah, yep. We can
Okay,
it
see
right
what
here.
it looks like? Okay, and then this would be more of what you get. You kind of get long, skinny shreds. So this is kind of what I have, the Italian one, but you can see it's the same. I used this one just a little while ago. I haven't cleaned it where I grated the cheese, but there are these tiny little holes. And that's how you get that fine dust, which does make a difference in a lot of dishes. Like if you make cacio e pepe, you know, the classical Roman, you really want to have that fine dust if you want to do it right. So this one, the only thing you need to do is, you know, mix it really well until it's all blended. And one thing I would suggest, because I looked at the ricotta and it doesn't have any salt, okay? The original recipe in my cookbook, I mean, I make the ricotta and there is salt, and a lot of the ricotta has salt. And also the recipe has pecorino, because, you know, in southern Italy, we tend to use pecorino cheese, which is made with sheep's milk, and it's saltier than Parmigiano Reggiano or Parmesan. So you might want to put a little bit of salt, but you know, even if you leave it as it is, it's okay. So I would just kind of put a little bit on top. Okay, and so this you're done at this point. Now, what I typically do is I make this ahead at least half an hour to an hour before, and I let it sit. Okay, by letting it sit, it's sort of the breadcrumbs all hydrate, and it's a little easier to shape. Can I have the tray I had here? Oh, that one. Okay, but even I'm going to try it even with this. Okay, so what you want to do for this one with the broth, you want them really tiny. Okay, think of like tortellini, right? Because it's like a soup. You want to get a couple, one or two in a spoon. You don't want them to be too big. Okay, so what you do is I'm just going to show you one, but I don't measure them typically. Okay, but this is the size you would make them, and this is fine. It's actually you can shape them easily. They're not too wet. But if it is a little wet, rather than try to add more breadcrumbs to it, because you're trying to taste the ricotta and eat ricotta rather than eat, you know, breadcrumb. Just let it sit even half an hour to an hour in the fridge, and then it'll make it easier. So you want to make them like marble size. And my broth is boiling. Once you shape them, okay, I'm just gonna, you guys can see all that. I'm just gonna put them with the flour, and this sort of seals them, okay? And then just slightly coat them with flour. You don't want a lot of flour. Shake it off. Okay, I'm just gonna put them back there. And I'm gonna do a couple more. I'm just gonna do a few for, to demonstrate. Okay, and I did these before, and I just want to show you the different insides. Okay, so these would be for the ones in broth. You see, they're like marble size. These would be for the appetizer. Okay, and these would be the ones that go in tomato sauce. So these are like half an inch. These are maybe, I don't know, an inch, and these are maybe an inch and a half. Okay, just to give you an idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish these little guys. And while they poach, I'm hoping I can show you the others. Okay. Okay, so I am going to put them in, and they just go in the broth, and they're going to sink at the bottom. And once they float, these cook really quickly. Okay, doesn't take much time at all, because there's really not a whole lot to cook. Okay, and once they float, I'm going to take them out, and then I'll show you. So what I would do with these, okay, the ones that are for the appetizer, I would coat them in the breadcrumbs. These are the dried, fine breadcrumbs, and it would just coat them. So they end up with a nice crispy coating. So they're really nice as a finger food. The tomato sauce, I already made it. Okay, so this is my simple tomato sauce. And what you want to do, if it reduces quite a bit, add some water to it so that when you put the polpette in there, it comes halfway. And so they, it's not dry. And by the time they cook, which takes a good like 10 minutes or so, the tomato sauce would be the right consistency. So what I would do with this one, you would just put them in there. I'm just gonna put them. I'm just gonna do these 4, just to show you, just like that. Okay, and I'm gonna set it in the back. Okay, and I'll try to fry those. So those would just get fried in nice olive oil till they're golden on the outside, and then those will be ready to serve. So these are already floating. They're all floating on top. Okay, so what I do is I am going to take them out. I'm going to actually go ahead and put the tomato sauce here. We'll start that. Just going to spoon them just to show you how you would serve them. Now these are, as they are vegetarian. And, but if you wanted to add like a little bit of chopped ham or prosciutto or soppressata, it's in Calabria, it's very common actually to put soppressata. That's typically what we would do if we wanted to add that. But I would just put in a little bit of parsley just to garnish it. And that would be this dish. This one you can see they're simmering. So the only thing I would do if you're going to do them in the tomato sauce, I mean, I only did 4. I would put more than that, but space them. Don't put them right next to each other because they do expand. And as they're cooking, don't stir them. Okay, don't try to stir them around. The only thing you want to do is like, put a little bit of the tomato sauce on top. Just like that. And I'm going to let these finish. And in the back, I'm going to switch here. I'm going to do the ones in oil, if I can get them done. Let's see. Do you mind taking that one, put it there? So with the ones that you fry in olive oil, as I said, I fry in olive oil. I know a lot of people are concerned about frying in olive oil, but that's what I grew up with. All we had was olive oil. We made our own olive oil, and that's what we used. And it's perfectly fine to fry in olive oil. You just don't want to go very high. So typically when we fry in all of our dishes, we're staying around 365 degrees, okay? Which you don't want to get to, let's say, 380 or 400, it would be too high. And I'm going to see if this is close enough. Let's see where we're at.
Hey, Rosetta.
Yes.
Quick question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, just a question for you on the ricotta balls and sauce. Do you want to keep those to a low simmer?
Yes. You don't want them boil fast. Just kind of a gentle simmer. So I'm going to turn it on for a second so that they should be done by the time we're done with everything. One way to test your oil, if you don't have a thermometer, is just to put a little bit of the breadcrumbs and see if they pop up quickly. Of course, the thermometer is always the easiest way to do it. Okay, so this is hot. I'm actually going to even lower it. So I'm going to put these in. Okay, see, they sizzle right away when you put them in. And as soon as they're brown, they're basically ready to go. And let's see if I can have, I'm just going to grab a plate. So the only thing you would do, this will get too ready. The only thing you would do is take them out and put them on some paper towel, and then you would serve them as an appetizer. And as I said, it's like finger food. Oops.
And then Rosetta, we have a couple.
This hot plate gets hot very fast. Whoa. Go ahead.
Couple questions coming in about the ricotta balls and sauce. How long do you cook them in the sauce?
About 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes. Okay. And then for the ricotta balls in broth, let's see. How long do you typically cook them in the broth? I did mention they should float to the top, but
as soon as they float to the top, it can be, a minute, it can be 2 minutes. Okay. So my hot plate went really fast, but just to give you an idea, so they're a little darker than I would typically do them. I didn't think it was that hot. Okay, but this is what they would look like. The ones that would be as an appetizer. And let's move this one back here, just to show you. So this one, I just need to turn it on. Hold on a second. Okay. But you see, I mean, it's only been a few minutes, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but see, they're already holding up, the shape really well. Okay. So I'm just going to lower this. I can actually take them out. You want to give me a plate? We'll show all 3 of them.
And then Rosetta, do you recommend serving the appetizer with a sauce, the fried ricotta balls?
Typically, Italians don't dip in sauces, okay? But because and the reason I always tell my students that, because we do all kinds of polpette in Italy. We do them with vegetables, we do them with ricotta, we do them with fish. We typically don't, other than, the ones that are in tomatoes, I would serve them with tomato sauce or the meatballs, like when I do the eggplant, because you really want to taste the ingredient. And if you end up coating this all in tomato sauce, you're tasting the tomato sauce. So the best way is just to eat them like that. And they are amazing.
They are. I made them over the weekend. They're delicious.
But this is the one that was in the recipe, so you can see what it looks like. So I think I made it on time. So I think what we want to do is just toast to Dairy West. So if you guys have a glass, here it is. So buon appetito.